Meanwhile, all these other people lied to you. 1 year ago when X Defiant launched, Blame Truth told everybody X Defiant just killed Call of Duty for good.
Okay, like for me, that's not really lying. That's just being hyperbolic, which is just like, you know, like when a pizza shop says we have the world's best pizza, I wouldn't take them literally. I would just know that that's a figure of speech to just draw attention to that the pizza's really good. So it's just like the same thing here, in my opinion. I wouldn't deem this as lying, just because we're all pretty aware in the like context of YouTube, people are going to be clickbaiting, and it's usually just more hyperbolic in nature, just emphasizing that the game is really good and it's a contender for Call of Duty.
Lies.
Yeah, I just don't think that's lies, though. It's just hyperbolic. Now, if you're taking it literally, then yes, of course, but I don't think anyone's taking it literally.
Honestly, 1 year ago, X Defiant is the most overrated piece of shit game ever, where I broke it down and told everybody this game is not going to do well.
Even this, though, I would say, like, once again, this is also like hyperbolic, hyperbole in the opposite direction, you know what I'm saying? So this is even like extreme and exaggerated, but it's just, I wouldn't actually believe that it's the most overrated piece of garbage game ever, you know, but I would take it that, okay, we're emphasizing that the game is of bad quality for whatever reason. So, like, let me know what the reasons are.
It's not going to compete with Call of Duty. It's only hype right now because all the YouTubers were hyping it up as a COD killer to get people to watch their videos.
And that's true. I would agree with that. Like, so if we're getting rid of the whole, like, lying versus not lying thing, like, if we're just talking about the nature of what was happening is, yeah, probably content creators were trying to gas it up and hype it up just to, like, bring attention to the channel, to their channel, so that they can, of course, you know, get more ad revenue and get more relevancy. While he's saying, and then he was calling out that that's the only reason the game is popular right now is because you have a bunch of content creators, but it's going to decline. So I would definitely probably agree that that's what most likely was happening in the past. So he probably made an accurate prediction on everything.
This is a really,
in terms of like popularity. So I think that's a fine statement.
Funny YouTube video. X Defiant has Call of Duty so scared they're nerfing skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops.
Okay, once again, I feel like this is, yes, literally this would be considered like lying, I guess you could say, if skill-based matchmaking, let's say, was not in the game, or are they really nerfing it? Like, you don't actually know. But once again, I think in the context of YouTube, this is all hyperbole and just extreme emphasis for titles to clickbait people in. But yeah, I'll just leave it there, I guess.
Black Ops 6. Oh, okay. They're nerfing skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops 6. Actually, Black Ops 6 has the strongest skill-based matchmaking ever. Dude's a fucking clown.
So you just say, okay, that like the title is directly against what Call of Duty actually has implemented for skill-based matchmaking. I mean, yeah, I would say it's just like a disagreeing point. I would never deem it, at least in the YouTube space, as lying. I'd have to see what the actual video was saying, but I would deem it more so as just like just a disagreement.
All of these videos are blatant lies when I was telling the truth. First video, X Defiant future content just leaking. It's insane.
Okay, like these titles, X Defiant future content just leaked and it's insane. Call of Duty stands zero chance. But it's like, it's hyperbole. It's just an emphasis. Just like how this title of this video, Blame Truth lied about everything, or even the titles on my video, they're just like extreme to get people's attention. So I wouldn't hold somebody to that and be like, bro, you're lying. Your title said this. I mean, maybe if we're like in a corporate world or corporate setting or something, I don't know. But that's just me.
Call of Duty sad zero chance anymore. Call of Duty fanboys are losing over X Defiant success and it's hilarious. The X Defiant dying rumors have been officially debunked. Season 2 revealed. All fucking lies.
I don't think it's lies. Now he could have been wrong like on some of the things, but or being a little extreme, but I just don't think I wouldn't categorize as lies. I'm kind of sounding like I'm beating a dead horse here, but you get the point.
5 months previous to all these lying videos, I was telling everybody the truth and these guys still kept conning you. I told you 6 months ago, X Defiant player count is down bad. I showed facts, I showed stats, I showed the actual numbers. 5 months ago, stop believing the lies. I was trying to tell you these guys are full of shit and they're lying.
Yeah, I would say like once again, so yeah, he probably did call it. So I'm not in disagreement there. I think Ghost of 8 was probably very accurate in what he thought was going to happen to the game. And he called it out probably pretty like on the nose or whatever, where he predicted that the game is going to get a lot of hype because a lot of content creators are potentially being paid to promote the game, or they just really like the game and it's something to talk about to generate views and ad revenue and stuff. And then once that kind of dies down, the game's going to die. And Ghost of 8 was able to probably pull up some numbers and show that kind of stuff. And yeah, maybe people were disagreeing with him. But I mean, yeah, obviously he was correct in his assessment because the game announced like a few days ago that they're shutting down officially. So I don't think Ghost of 8 is wrong in his assessment. I just kind of disagree with the idea of like these other content creators are lying, because it's just like clickbait titles and stuff like that. But I will say I will have to look back, because there could have been in the videos specifically like things that were direct lies. So I'll leave it at that to say that I would have to go back and check those out. But if we're just going off the titles alone, yeah, I wouldn't hold much to it.
Lying to you. Everyone hated on me. Everyone got mad. Everyone think I'm just stupid. You're just a Call of Duty shield, like a bunch of brain dead morons that you are.
I mean, I feel like this guy, doesn't he like always, I feel like I've watched him in the past, like a few years ago. Isn't he like always just like, he's usually negative in general, even towards Call of Duty. So like, I wouldn't consider this dude a corporate shill or Call of Duty shill or anything like that. He's just saying what he believes is true. And he was technically right about X Defiant's like decline.
And that's why I made this video 5 months ago saying X Defiant fanboys can't handle the fact it's dead. Like, it was dead 6 months ago. I made countless videos showing everybody to stop believing this nonsense and to accept the fact this game was destined for death. I even predicted to the date, I told you within 2 to 3 months of Black Ops 6 releasing, they would be announcing the game is shutting down, and what happened? It is shutting down.
Yeah, so I'll stand by him on this, that he had a good assessment of what was happening, and he pretty much called it. So I think that's all fair and fine and dandy.
Don't know why they were so dishonest with you. Perhaps maybe they were delusional. Maybe they were living in a fantasy world. Maybe they just wanted to make clickbait because they knew those videos would get views.
So once again, I don't know if they were lying, but I think the primary reason for hyping the game up is, well, there's many factors. Like, it could just be, once again, blame Truth as an old Call of Duty person, as like an old head, let's say, in the Call of Duty scene. He prefers the older games, and X Defiant probably scratched that itch, so to speak, where it felt like an older Call of Duty. So he might have just been very passionate about the game and wanted it to do well and was very hyped about it. So of course he's going to hype it up and have extreme titles, and it's a competition at the end of the day. It's like two businesses, Ubisoft and Activision, competing against each other. And there's also a layer that, yeah, he could have been sponsored by them to talk positively about the game. It could have been a mix of both, where he was sponsored, but he was already passionate about the game. It could have just been that he was not sponsored, and he was thinking that this is something that will bring in views and generate ad revenue, et cetera, and relevancy. But that's just like expected. I mean, it's his job. He's a YouTuber who's in the gaming scene. So I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's like a deliberate lying, if that makes sense. It's just more just trying to generate hype around something that you kind of believe in, or that you're financially, supported by if they're sponsoring him.
People who were positive about X Defiant and negative about Call of Duty got subscribers and made a lot of money. Someone like myself, through the entire X Defiant debacle, who was honest about what is actually going on and how the game wasn't good. And my reward for just being honest and authentic with my audience, I lost subscribers, did not get views, and got a lot of hate from the community.
Well, I would say, like, once again, he was correct in his assessment. I keep forgetting his name. Hateful Eight, right? God, I see Hateful Eight's a movie name. Ghost of Eight. Sorry, bro. Ghostful Eight was correct in his assessment. I would just say the reason I'm imagining that he got a lot of hate is, I mean, the way he's speaking right now is very polarizing. It's very extreme. So with that, we'll bring in a lot of potential hate if somebody disagrees with you. I think it's just kind of like a natural thing, and Eight probably knows about that. Like, he knows he's being extreme and polarizing. So yeah, it's unfortunate that people had such a negative reaction to him and then unsub from him. I don't understand why people would unsub. I can understand disagreeing and everything, but if he was being very extreme, yeah, there's a high potential you're gonna, draw on a lot of hate. It's essentially like the mainstream media, right? How they're very extreme with things and very polarizing. It's just gonna bring in a lot of hate and animosity just due to the polarizing nature of like how things are presented in the topics at hand.
Which I am slowly getting back again because my videos are too fucking awesome to deny, and my talent is too great, and I'm too...
I mean, he is pretty funny. He is pretty entertaining, I'll say. Whether you disagree, agree, he's just like a very energetic guy. I will give him that.
Entertaining, and people are always going to come back because the cream rises to the top, baby. Now, for those of you who are mad at me watching this video because you think X Defiant was good, that's fine, but it wasn't good. You want to know why it wasn't good?
Well, what is good? That's a whole other topic of, well, what would you consider good? Are we strictly talking about player count and views and stuff like that? Like, does that make something good intrinsically, or is that just a factor that makes something good? Or can something be intrinsically good that doesn't get any views or doesn't have any relevancy. You know what I mean? So I would say that if we're using the metric of viewership and relevancy, yeah, of course it's not going to be good because it obviously is a dying game. But that doesn't mean the fundamental game itself is like intrinsically bad. It could be a good game that just unfortunately didn't get a lot of support. Because it's like the same kind of concept. By that logic, you would have like pop music would be the best music, right? Because it has the most views and it has the most attention. Whereas other people would argue, well, no, it's just the most attention grabbing. There's plenty of other genres of like subgenres of music that are less known and more talented individuals, but they just never get known. But that doesn't mean they're, you know, bad artists, let's say.
Because if it was...
So yeah, it's just like a philosophy question of like, well, what do you consider good? What is the definition of good, right? So if we're purely talking viewership, relevancy metrics in that category, yeah, it's not going to be as good as Call of Duty because obviously the game is declining or about to be, or it's canceled until like whenever it gets canceled, like next year.
Is good, it wouldn't be getting canceled right now and would have a player base that supported it, but we don't have that. The market has spoken. The game sucks. No one played it. They did a horrible job with it. Those are just the facts. Take your emotions out of it. I don't give a fuck if you like the game. No one else did. Otherwise, once again, it wouldn't be a dead game. Another manipulation.
And once again, I'm not arguing that it is or is not a dead game or that's relevant or not. Like, I will agree that, yeah, of course it's a dying game, but I'm just playing devil's advocate or hanging on that point of, well, does that mean it's intrinsically a bad product, right? Maybe it is, because there's other metrics that you could look at, like maybe the netcode sucks or the experience sucks, and that is why players are not interested in the game. But maybe it just didn't have enough fuel in the tank or something. I don't know.
And bullshit that people are pulling out here is trying to get mad at people like myself for being negative. Well, not negative, sorry. I fell into the trap of being a loser like those XDefiant fanboys. Being honest, rather. I'm not being negative. I'm being honest about what XDefiant is they're trying to say XDefiant was great because it was competition for Black Ops 6 and Call of Duty. And if Call of Duty doesn't have competition, that's not good. Well, you know what? It isn't.
Well, I would say in general, that idea is it's a good idea. I guess a good concept. Like, it would be good for games like Call of Duty to have competition because it will just make them hopefully like increase the, I don't know, like the quality of their product. Because if there's no competition, then they can do whatever they want with their product. I mean, it could be that they maintain a good product and keep increasing the quality, or they could get like complacent and lazy with it, and just kind of the consumer kind of suffers. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of like, well, one of the reasons why there's no like monopolies allowed, right, in certain industries, because you don't want companies to have all of the power when it comes to controlling the prices of things and the quality of the product, et cetera, et cetera. So competition is good, I would say, in general.
My fault. It isn't anyone's fault that XDefiant failed or that it sucked. If XDefiant once again was good, it would actually have been competition for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Also saying competition for Black Ops 6, we need competition. What do you think Fortnite is? It's an...
Okay, so I would say that, yes, Fortnite, it is competition, because of course it's a game that could be taking away players from Call of Duty, but I think what people in general mean when they say competition for Call of Duty is like a 3-lane arcade type shooter. I think they're trying to say like they want there to be competition within the same space, whereas, yeah, Fortnite's a battle royale game, so it's just a different type of game, but it still is technically competition, because at the end of the day, if it's pulling players away, then it's a competitor, right? But I think what the COD community was probably saying or referring to is a game that is similar in its category.
Exponentially more popular, better game than the Call of Duty is right now.
Yeah, once again, I would argue that Fortnite actually being a competitor to COD is probably not a good thing, because it causes the war zonification of the game, which I know a lot of people don't like. So that's probably why people wanted a game like XDefiant to come in and be a strong competitor, so that the Call of Duty that people know and love will be the thing that gets focused on for improvement, as opposed to, as Activision have to spit out some sort of battle royale game to compete with Fortnite, because a lot of people don't like that in Call of Duty. Some people like it, but I think the general audience would probably prefer the old school style kind of COD.
Oh, it is competition. Battlefield 2042, Battlefield in general, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 was all competition for...
Yeah, I would agree. I still agree, though. Like, in general, in the grand scheme of things, like, if it's something that will take players away from your game, it is competition. Like, even if it wasn't a video game, like if it's Netflix or something, right? If Netflix is pulling players away from your game, they're technically a competitor. But I think, once again, the COD community was trying to be a little more specific and just saying they wanted a competitor within the same category of game.
For Call of Duty, Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2 was competition for Call of Duty. And what has happened to Call of Duty with all this competition that it needs to make it better? There goes 7-8. Well, let me tell you what, you fucking morons. Call of Duty's the worst it's ever been.
So like, this is why I think people are hating and arguing. Once again, he's being extreme on purpose, I'm sure, and it's just his personality. He's a funny guy, right? But this is where people might perceive him as being negative, so therefore they are going to be negative back to him, in my assessment watching this video, which I think is fine. It's just like, once again, guys, at the end of the day, it's just like, it's gaming, right? It's like PS3 versus Xbox 360, which is better. It's just people arguing, and it's fun. It's fun for the community to have all this disagreement and hype, in my opinion, because it means people genuinely care about the game and just enjoy the topic at hand.
Saying extra fight was needed because it's competition, you're just stupid, Ghost of 8. No, numbnuts, you're all stupid and you got conned by clickbait, horseshit, lying content creators that don't give a fuck about you, but you'll defend to your dying breath. But the point of this, and what
I mean, there's something to be said there. Like, it is true at the end of the day, like, you know, content creators don't know every individual person that supports them, and then they do have a level of keeping their own interest in mind of making money at the end of the day if they're doing this as their full-time job. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think it's to be expected kind of thing.
What we can all learn from this is I can explain.
But yeah, it is something to be said about, you know, don't just believe something because there's a clickbaity title about it. It means, like, do some research and come to the conclusion yourself.
To you, what you all got deceived and how you were all deceived was because people benefited from deceiving you, lying to you, and not being honest.
But yeah, I keep getting hung up on that. I don't know. Maybe they were intentionally deceiving or lying. I'm not going to say they weren't, because I'll have to go back and check the videos and see what was specifically said. But in general, I think that there was not an intentional. That's my first assessment, is that there was not an intentional deception or something. Like, just because the game died doesn't mean that everybody who supported it and said it's a good game, it's hype, etc., was intentionally trying to deceive. It just means that they were hyped about the game and it failed. Like, and they were probably hype about the game because they either liked it, they were being financially supported by it, or both of those things were true, or they were being independently supported by it, by the views or revenue or something that it was bringing in, which I think those are all fine things in my opinion.
Rage bait Call of Duty content that over sensationalizes the problems with the game, or how about anything on the internet?
I mean,
over sensationalizes everything to garner your attention. No one, including myself, is really 100% being authentic and real.
Okay, so he, like, once again, I was about to say, but he said it himself, that everything is being over sensationalized, including himself, which is good that he's very self-aware, right? He's self-aware that he is being extreme. You know, I'm being extreme by responding to this stuff or watching this stuff, clickbaity titles, etc., etc. So I think that as long as there's like that understanding that it's just the nature of how things are, then it's just like to me, it's not a big deal. But yeah.
We are over sensationalizing things to get your attention, to make sure you watch our videos so that we can make ad revenue. That is a fact that no one else wants to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Like, so sure, there are going to be content creators out there that are just literally doing what they enjoy doing with no rhyme or reason or care about like financial gain or viewership or relevancy. That's definitely also true. But a vast majority of people are gonna they're gonna hyperbolize things and make it extreme to make it interesting, right? So it's like, I mean, you can see this in the fitness community as well with people like Greg Doucette and stuff like that, who are like being very high energy to attract views. And they also just happen to enjoy probably the content that they're making. So it's just like a hand-in-hand kind of thing. Just like how he enjoys playing, Call of Duty himself, and he's also being extreme. It's all the same thing at the end of the day.
No one is actually being honest about the content they're providing anymore because we've...
Okay, I don't agree with that, though. I think that saying nobody is being honest about the content, sure, it is true that some people are not being honest. I would agree, sure. But not everybody. Like, some people could just be being more extreme, others less extreme. Some people might be flat out dishonest. I think there's just like a mixed bag here, and to overgeneralize is kind of like I just personally think you can't overgeneralize.
all been manipulated and brainwashed by the algorithms to push our videos to extremes to get more people to watch them. And then it's a snowball effect where people have to keep becoming more sensationalized, more clickbaity. No one's going to want to hear this, but this is...
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with this. Like, that's the nature of... I think it's just human nature, right? You see it in politics, gaming, you know, with your close friends, whatever it may be. People like to take sides on things, get extreme, and then it snowballs, and then people get more extreme, and so on and so forth. So I think that's a fair assessment.
The truth, just like I told you the truth about XDefiant and how the game was dying 6 months ago, and everybody hated on me. I lost subscribers. People called me a cod shill, even though I am the #1 longest standing negative person about Call of Duty, who has been making critical content about Call of Duty longer than any.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I swear I remember him from before. He was like smack talking on Call of Duty a lot back in the day, from like when I saw it was like a few years ago, I think. So yeah, that lines up. Like, I don't think he's like I would not say this guy is a corporate COD shill or something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, who knows, right? What handshakes are going on behind the scenes? But I wouldn't say so. I think he's just a dude that's passionate. He is just calling it how he sees it, and he happens to probably enjoy COD. He probably doesn't like some things about COD, etc., etc.
Anybody, if you know, you know. But let me finish this video off with one of the most important messages and lessons we can all learn and probably have ever heard in your entire life.
All right, I'm listening, dude. Most important message I've ever heard in my life.
Or at least in the last 25 minutes. People don't like to hear the truth unless it's convenient for their own beliefs and backs up their own biases.
I mean, this is generally true. It's called confirmation bias, right? It's when you don't want to take in any information unless it's something that supports your claim. That's very, very true. That's, once again, it's human nature, and it's something that we should all try to, you know, avoid. Like, just be open-minded on whatever the subject matter is. And at the end of the day, you're going to have some level of confirmation bias, even when you're trying to be aware of it. But a lot of people, unfortunately, are not even aware that they're doing that, and they're just very one-sided on something without ever, like, looking into the opposition.
And their own original ideas that they had to begin with. As Albert Einstein, my great-great-grandfather and fellow genius.
Okay, like for example, his great-great-grandfather Albert Einstein, like, that's hyperbole. It's like, I don't literally believe that his great-great-grandpa was Albert Einstein. It's just a funny joke. It's extreme, you know? So it's kind of like the same with these topics at hand that we're even talking about.
Said, brilliant minds are always met with violent opposition, and just like my best friend Marcus Aurelius, my fellow general back in Rome and Greece days, but we did some Dr. Disrespect stuff back then, but it was acceptable. Times change, whatever, hashtag no homo. No man is more hated than he who speaks the truth, and that's what...
No man is hated than he who speaks the truth. More hated. I mean, yeah, there's some truth to that as well. Like, if you're speaking the truth... But then, yeah, what is truth, right? Like, we can get into some like objective reality versus subjective reality kind of philosophy talks. But yeah, in general, if you're saying something that is true, sometimes it can attract a lot of people that just don't want you to be saying what you're saying, and it can cause a lot of hate.
That's what we do on this channel. We pack the steel, we keep it real, and you know what? And really, most important, last but not least, you know what you gotta do? Stay black! Question authority and don't let the honky cracker reptilian shit.
All right, I think the video is done, basically. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think that this dude's a smart dude. At the end of the day, he knows that he's being extreme. He's just trying to also generate ad revenue, just like everybody else. I do actually agree with a lot of the points he made. I just don't think that anybody's lying, or maybe he's being extreme on purpose, and maybe he doesn't even believe that anyone's lying. It's just all an extreme overemphasis of things to cause drama, etc., etc. So it was a fun video. I agree with a lot of the points he was saying. I disagree with some as well. Anyways, guys, that's all I got. So see ya in the next one.